Welcome to the deep dive. We know exactly why you sent this material over. You're looking at some huge epic goal, right? And the first thing that hits you is that question, okay, how do I actually do this? It feels, well, massive, almost
It
paralyzing.
really does. And look, our deep dive today isn't just about feeling good. It's about the actual architecture,
Mm-hmm.
strategic stuff. We've gone through everything you sent, and we pulled out this six-pillar framework. The whole point is to shift that thinking, away from how can I possibly manage this and towards something like, okay, I'm already on my way.
Mm-hmm.
The mission here is taking that giant, overwhelming idea and giving it structure, the real nuts and bolts.
Yeah.
That makes moving forward feel, well, almost automatic.
Yeah, and the sources are super specific about keeping that psychological momentum going, even when things get tricky. They really hammer home that people usually fail not because the dream isn't big enough, but because there's no workable structure. So let's start where they do, the foundational bit, breaking the plan down.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Right. The text uses this really good analogy, the whole pizza. You see the goal, that perfect pizza. But you can't just stuff it all in at once, right? You've got to break it down, slice by slice. Otherwise, you choke. Simple as that.
hmm And this is exactly where a lot of plans kind of fall apart. People make a list, maybe 20 steps long, but they don't really prioritize or they don't get that the plan isn't set in
Yeah.
stone. It needs to be flexible. The key thing here, the real insight, is that, yeah, you need a general order, A before B, sure, but you have to be ready to change that order. Rigidity. That's like an Achilles heel for these big long-term things because you learn stuff along the way, right? New info comes up and suddenly your priorities might need to shift.
That book writing example they gave nails it perfectly. Writing a book, huge goal, but the breakdown,
Yeah.
totally manageable. Okay, record a podcast, transcribe it, edit that text, design a cover, write the blurb. Each one is its own little project, something you can actually finish.
And to make things even more efficient, the source talks a lot about parallel work. Now, this isn't multitasking in the bad sense, trying to juggle two hard things simultaneously. No, it's about using those times when you can do low-cost, low-energy tasks alongside the big, necessary, high-cost ones.
Can you walk us through that East Asia trip example again? I thought that really clarified the strategy.
Sure. So imagine your epic goal is this trip, and it needs serious saving up. That saving part can feel slow, maybe even a bit demoralizing. It's easy to lose steam. But here's the thing. You don't have to just sit there waiting for the bank account to fill up. You can start the other work in parallel, like deep diving into the travel research, learning some basic phrases, planning possible routes. These things don't cost much money, but they're a huge psychological investment. You're getting emotionally tied to the outcome because you're putting in hours of, well, non-financial effort. And that keeps you committed during that long haul of saving.
Right. That totally tackles the waiting fee. No, getting it done. Structure and schedule. We have this list. Some tasks are okay, some are just painful. What's the smart way to approach it?
You absolutely need schedule, and you need to stick to it. But how you structure it matters. You use psychology to your advantage. Make the most of when your energy is naturally high. This brings us to what they call the whipping cream strategy, which is basically their fun way of saying eat the frog.
Ah, okay. So tackle the worst stuff first.
Exactly. Start with the tasks you dread the most, the broccoli, right?
Yeah.
When your willpower and your executive function are at their peak. Your brain's ability to manage tasks, focus, make decisions that drains through the day, it just does. So if you leave that difficult editing, or maybe the accounting you hate, until 5 in the afternoon, you're already wading through decision fatigue.
That makes total sense. You burn through mental energy on small stuff all day, what's for lunch, answering emails, dealing with little problems. By the time you get to the really hard work, the tank's almost empty.
Precisely. So you save the enjoyable stuff. The whipping cream, maybe reading something interesting, or that Latin class example they use for later. This creates this really important forward momentum. Each task you finish is a little win. And just knowing the next task is easier, or actually fun, that's a powerful internal reward. It keeps you going.
Yeah, it's like building up to a smooth landing instead of crashing. They compared it to a treasure hunt, didn't they?
Yeah. If the prizes get worse as you find a diamond first, then just a button, well, your motivation just plummets. Who wants that? But if you start small, find a silver ring, and you know the next prize is better, you're driven to keep digging. So the practical takeaway is schedule specific times, realistically. If editing is your broccoli, block out 90 minutes. First thing, no distractions. And this is crucial plan breaks, proper breaks. Get up, stretch, have a real lunch. You need that distance to avoid burnout, and honestly, sometimes the best ideas pop up when you step away.
Okay, those first two pillars are very much about setting up your internal system. But pillar three moves outward, investment, specifically outsourcing. I know a lot of people, myself included, sometimes resist this. We feel like we should do everything ourselves. What's the advice on pushing past that?
Well, the core idea is pretty straightforward. Measure value beyond just dollars. Why spend, say, 10 hours struggling with something you're not great at, when an expert can nail it perfectly in just 2 hours? The source material is really clear. Avoid that. I can technically do this, so I must trap.
I wonder, though, for someone just starting out, maybe money's really tight, how do you weigh that strategic value against the actual cost? And aren't you worried about um, losing control?
That's a fair point, and it comes up a lot. The calculation isn't just time saved. It's also stress reduction. It's quality control. That's
Yeah.
non-monetary value, right? Think about that East Asia trip again. Spending weeks checking reviews, worrying if that five-star hotel is really five-star. That takes time, creates anxiety. Hiring a good travel agent, that's an investment. It basically guarantees the outcome you want and removes the worry. And that peace of mind, that frees up your own valuable time and brain space for the things only you can do.
So outsourcing isn't just delegation of tasks, it's delegation of anxiety.
Absolutely. And the big trap the source warns about is thinking, oh, I'll hire help when I'm successful.
Yeah.
No. Outsource now if you possibly can. It helps you avoid getting completely discouraged by being constantly stuck on tasks you hate. Plus, when you invest like that, you're essentially building a team. Those experts, they become partners. They're invested in you succeeding too.
Building on that idea of investment, we hit pillar four, setting measurable milestones. Makes sense. If the big goal is way off, you need rewards along the way to keep fired up.
Yeah, milestones are vital. They validate all the hard work, that feeling of accomplishment. It triggers pleasure, reinforces the motivation loop. But, and this is important, the source stresses that the rewards need to connect emotionally to the goal, and they need to be big enough to actually change your behavior now.
The examples they used were so specific. Like, for losing weight, hitting 10 pounds meant a bottle of fancy Monkey 47 gin. Then 25 pounds meant a shopping spree. But I have to ask, rewarding a health goal with gin, doesn't that seem counterproductive?
It's a common reaction. But the source isn't focused on the physical item itself so much as the psychological power of the reward. The link is key. The idea of getting that sharp new blazer during the shopping spree, that became incredibly motivating, powerful enough to make skipping dessert right now feel worth it. It connects a future desired self, someone who wears sharp blazers, to a difficult present choice.
Ah, okay. That clarifies the mini dirt bike story, too. The kid probably wasn't really going to get first on a roll, but the possibility of that amazing prize kept the effort super high.
It's exactly right. Psychologists call it a variable reinforcement schedule.
Yeah.
Just the thought of that big prize, even if it feels like a long shot, keeps the effort going. And maybe they didn't get the dirt bike, but they achieved something great and got a still exciting reward, like the new stereo example. It validates the work. It keeps the cycle going.
Okay. Structure built, team assembled, rewards plan. Now, pillar five, relentlessness.
Yeah.
Once you declare the dream, you got to be persistent, but not rigid.
Right. This is all about being willing to pivot, to accept detours. Roadblocks will happen. That's guaranteed. They only stop you if you refuse to look for another path. The source makes a great point that comfortable routines, they can actually be the enemy of finding the best way.
That Intel commute story was perfect for this. The
What?
person took the same fastest route for years, just habit, right? Until accidents forced a detour that was 10 minutes longer. And guess what? The detour was way nicer, less stressful, a better quality of life.
Even though it wasn't technically the quickest way on paper, the routine had blinded them to a better option. That's the strategy exactly. Relentless about the destination, but flexible about the route. And this means tuning out the naysayers, the ones in your own head and the ones around you. That story about getting the Australia study abroad approved, that's pure strategic persistence. The university didn't have a program, but the student didn't just plead. They framed it strategically, linked it to an actual academic requirement for their history major studying a third continent. They gave the university a reason based on rules to say yes, found the path through the bureaucracy, made it happen.
Never give up on the what, but always be willing to rethink the how. Got it. Which brings us to the sixth, and maybe most personal pillar, sharing achievements and self-belief.
Yeah, external encouragement is just, it's a lifeline. Sharing your wins, like passing that LCPP exam and posting about it, it's not just bragging. It gives you external validation, keeps you accountable. And when things are tough, sharing the struggle, letting people support you, that's like a life vest, as the source puts it.
And that marathon runner example, writing their name on their shirt so strangers shout, "You got it, Xander." Genius. Simple way to tap into external energy when you're empty. And we saw that same support in the Year of Tears story, the parents helping their child with difficult reading by taking turns page by page. You just can't do the hardest parts alone.
And that feeds directly into needing to be your own biggest cheerleader. Seriously, if you don't believe in yourself, people pick up on that uncertainty. The 973 rule they mentioned is such a powerful tool for resilience. When things go wrong, and they will, you miss a deadline. You fail something, you deliberately focus on the 97% that did go right, the effort that was good, the parts that were productive. You consciously refuse to obsess over the 3% failure.
Right, it stops your brain from spiraling into catastrophe mode, and you actually need to say the encouragement out loud to yourself. Remind yourself a setback isn't the end.
Which leads us right to the ultimate mindset shift. This is the source's final answer to that first big question, how do I do this?
Mm.
The instruction is, the moment you ask it, immediately reframe it. Answer yourself with, I already am.
Whoa, okay, that's not just positive thinking, that's an identity shift, isn't it? You ask, how do I write a book? Answer, I am writing it. Ask, how do I get this degree? Answer, I am on the path, working towards it. It stops you seeing success as some future thing and forces you to step into the identity of the successful person today.
That's it, exactly. This whole framework, breaking down the pizza, eating the broccoli first, getting help, celebrating wins, navigating detours, and finally, owning the identity. It's summed up perfectly by that Arthur Ashe quote they included. Start where you are, use what you have, do what you can.
That really is the blend of action and identity. So as we wrap up this deep dive, the material leaves us with one last, really provocative thought. It stems from that I already am mindset. If you stop waiting for future permission, if you start claiming success now, what's the single biggest daily decision that changes for you? When you identify as the person who is achieving, not just wants to achieve, what action suddenly becomes non-negotiable today? Something to think about until our next deep dive.
Indeed. We'll see you then.